You'll find collection jars like these throughout Maryville and Elmo, Missouri, as the communities grieve an infant lost in tragedy. Jamie Hull wants to do everything she can to help Corbin Widerholt's family. She grew up with the infant's mother.
Each of her kids meant, everything to her, and I mean, she's a wonderful mother, and she would do anything for her children.
Hull believes the family should have everything they need during their time of mourning. She spent today making and distributing the collection jars and set up a GoFundMe page that raised more than $17,000 by the end of the day.
Maryville's a great community, and, she always has a lot of support back here.
The 9-month-old baby died when his 5-year-old brother accidentally shot him at his grandparents' house in Elmo, Missouri. His brother had found a .22 caliber Magnum revolver that belonged to his grandfather.
All his kids and his grandkids, that's his life.
Mark Armentrout lives next door and says everyone in the small town is praying for Corbin's family.
This is a really good community, and I'm sure everybody's going to pull together and help them out through this.
That's why Hull is trying to help.
The mother, is going to go to bed with one less child. She'll never hear his laugh or, hear his cries that's very, very heartbreaking as a parent.
The Nottoway County Sheriff is still investigating this case. At this time, no charges have been filed. I'm Nathan Vickers reporting for KCTV5 News Local, Kansas City. You wouldn't expect a tragedy like this to happen in such a small, quiet town. El Dorado Springs is about 2 hours southeast of Kansas City. Last night, a routine traffic stop ended in this residential neighborhood in a shootout, and that shootout killed 2 people, one of them a sheriff's deputy.
I could see his truck was sitting right here, and then that was about it. I couldn't see anything else.
Kenny Jennings was outside to let his cat in late last night when he heard shots echoing from down the street.
We both hit the ground, and as soon as the shooting quit, we went back in the house.
What he heard was a shootout that began as a chase on Highway 82 in the heart of El Dorado Springs. A Cedar County Sheriff's deputy named Matt Chism saw a pickup with its headlights off. When the driver wouldn't stop, the deputy pursued him. Eventually, a passenger in the truck jumped out to run away. Police say he and the deputy exchanged physical blows, followed by gunfire. Both Chism and the suspect died.
As long as I've been here, I haven't heard of anything like this happening. It's really shocking.
Chism was just 25 years old, married with a 2-year-old child. We reached out to his close friend who's raising money to support his family. He wrote, "He was a great man, a great father, and a great husband. He lived life to the fullest and always brought joy to all he touched." The suspect who was killed was William Collins. He was 28 years old and had several minor drug possession and traffic charges, including one charge in Cedar County in May. Reporting from El Dorado Springs, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News. Matt Chism isn't just a fallen deputy. He's a hometown hero, born and raised in Cedar County, in a town that will miss him. It was a standing room only crowd at Stockton High School, the only building in town large enough to accommodate the thousands of people who came together to mourn the loss of Matthew Chism.
He was just a good old down-to-earth country kid.
Todd Clayton was Chism's second cousin and a close friend. He says Chism was a friendly, kind young man who loved his family and community.
He loved his job, He just bent over backwards for you,
Chism leaves behind a wife and 2-year-old boy, and a multitude of relatives and friends who miss him already.
What words can you say? They was just shocked when they heard about Matt.
And his community responded today, shutting down nearly every business in the city for the funeral and procession, and offering encouraging messages to his family. Even Catherine Lackey, who didn't know Chism, is showing her support.
It's just it's a powerful event, and it's just a tragedy in all ways.
Both Stockton and El Dorado Springs are reeling from the shock of a shooting so near their hearts. But Lackey believes the best way for the towns to move forward is to move together.
Everybody pulls together as a community. And I think if you look around today, you'll see that, everybody is out. Like, we're not at the service, but we're here because we want to be a part of it.
Chism was just 25 years old when he died. In Stockton, Missouri, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News Local, Kansas City. The Johnson County that's home to country clubs and ritzy suburban houses is the same county where Christina Carter lives below the poverty line. She routinely visits a food pantry in Shawnee to put food on the table for her 4 kids.
It's different out here. You would think it's not poverty, but it is.
The poverty rate in Johnson County doubled from the year 2000 to 2014. Karen Wolfkuhl of United Community Services says that's a larger increase than any county in the KC metro area.
People come here for good schools, safe communities, and jobs. And so that's true for people at all kinds of income levels.
The food pantry serves 320 people every week, but they have to turn away more and more people all the time because their supply can't keep up with the growing demand.
A lot of the people who are seeking help are people who have health issues, or there are many, many requests for help with assistance with rent and utilities.
And nearly 1/3 of those below the poverty line are children.
In our community, we need to pay attention to this because helping them is going to help them have a better future.
When you're down, and you always need somebody to help you. You always need somebody that does have, that can give.
Poverty exists in the suburbs, too, and it's a growing part of Johnson County. In Shawnee, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News.
This is Josh.
Carolyn Markey would do anything for her oldest grandson, Josh. That's why when a caller claiming to be him asked for help,
It sounded like Josh.
she responded immediately.
He needed $20,000 to get out of there. And he needed it right away before they put him in jail.
The caller told Markey he'd gotten into trouble in Mexico and stressed that Markey couldn't call the police or his parents.
That was very important, that I wouldn't tell anyone.
Thankfully, Markey did tell someone, a teller at her bank.
She says, it sounds like you're being scammed. And she was right. That's exactly what was happening.
The scammers called 4 times today between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., and every time the number showed up as unavailable.
It's really frightening.
Markey eventually contacted her family to check on her grandson, and sure enough,
He's at home, he's not in Mexico.
that's when she called the police and found out she was nearly a victim.
You never figure that that's going to happen to you. It's always a story that you see about somebody else.
It was a close call for Markey,
He's the oldest of 4.
but she says asking others for advice turned out to be the right thing to do. In Leawood, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News. Zaisha won't go back to her family today. A court will decide tomorrow or Wednesday whether she can go home with her parents. I spoke to them last night about what happened at the lake.
It was just an accident that has turned into a nightmare.
It's been hell.
Josh and Amanda Harris say an argument distracted them from their daughter as they were leaving a barbecue at Wyandotte Lake. They barely spoke to each other as they loaded up their 5 children.
I should have said, which kids, whatever, I just said, the other kids are going to have to ride with you.
We began, we both thought that each other had our daughter, because we had just a misagreement. And, so we was giving each other time to cool off.
They both drove off without checking on their youngest daughter, Zaisha, and they didn't check in with each other for the rest of the night. In fact, Zaisha's mother didn't realize her daughter was missing until a relative saw the 4-year-old's picture on the KCTV5 website.
So I called her dad screaming and crying and trying to see where she is. And then that's whenever he starts yelling at me. He's like, she's with you. She's with you. I started screaming.
Luckily, someone at the lake called the police, who found Zaisha around dusk. Her parents say they won her back and that they've learned valuable lessons about parenting. Did this sort of resolve the argument at that point?
Oh, man, yeah, this is...
I'm good. My daughter is going with me from now on. If somebody needs to ride somewhere, I'm sorry, but they gotta... Yeah. My girls are staying in my car, I'm not.
From now on, arguments, guess what? I'll sleep on the couch and you can have the bedroom.
I've spoken on the phone with Zaisha's mother today. She remembered some more details about what happened at the lake, and she says another relative might be partly to blame for the incident. More on that at 6. In KCK, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News. Many members of the Woodbridge community feel that part of the healing process is memorializing the tragedy that took their neighbors' lives.
These are the memorials so far, all the teddy bears.
The colorful yet solemn display of flowers, stuffed animals, and religious icons reminds Rosalind Sanders of the friends and neighbors her community lost.
It will always be remembered as a place of tragedy, but we want to make it a place of hope going forward.
To make it a place of hope, Sanders and other residents are proposing a permanent memorial. It'll mark the Woodbridge entrance just a few feet from where police say Brandon Howell broke into the home of George and Ann Taylor.
Something like what just happened, you know, it's disturbing. And
Terry Brown drives by that place every day and believes the community should consecrate it.
I think it's a good thing to keep the ones that we lost, and, you know, their memory alive as long as we can.
The Woodbridge Homes Association is considering several ideas to mark the spot, possibly 6 park benches, a plaque, or a sundial. Sanders says she and other board members will see what's feasible and what the community can afford.
We want to be very respectful of the families and just show them all the love that we can and know that we're supporting them as they go on without their loved ones.
The Woodbridge community will meet 1 week from Thursday to discuss plans for the memorial. In Kansas City, Missouri, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News. Both candidates stuck to the same messages they've been promoting through the entire campaign. Orman says he'll change the direction of the U.S. Senate, and Roberts says he's the key to a Republican majority. Greg Orman opened the debate promoting his experience in the private sector and declaring himself a way to fight the two-party system in the Senate.
We're sending the worst of both parties to Washington. Bitter partisans who care more about pleasing the extremists and the special interests in their own parties than they do about solving problems.
Topics range from the economy.
I will be the pro-growth, not only the candidate, but I will get things done.
To environmental issues, the Affordable Care Act and immigration reform.
I think our policy needs to be tough, practical, and fair.
Senator Pat Roberts continuously pegged Orman as a liberal disguised as an independent. With nearly every response, he included at least one comparison of Orman to the leading Senate Democrat.
Harry Reid, Harry Reid, Harry Reid, Harry Reid, Harry Reid, Barack Obama, and Harry Reid agenda.
The 18-year incumbent stressed that his election would give Republicans control of the Senate.
I will fight every waking minute to restore our faith in government.
And the candidates continued their dialogue well after the debate was over.
I think the voters of Kansas are going to make a decision about who to support in this election based on who they think is going to do the best job for Kansas.
The road to a Republican majority leads right through Kansas. A vote for Pat Roberts is a vote for the Republicans to take over the majority. And we end the gridlock.
In Overland Park, Nathan Vickers, KCTV5 News.